Good morning. So, finally ready to leave. Turn off the lights. All right. Today is the 30th of August. So I'm finally leaving for Leh Ladakh today. I'll be riding from Bangalore to Hyderabad today. Yeah. So there's my bike, which is all packed. All right. So finally started the trip after years and years of waiting, and the last 2 years of, oh well, rather the 1.5 years of the pandemic hitting the world. Anyway, here we go. So Hyderabad is 533 kilometers. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's finish this early. Of course, at a steady pace. I'm not gonna rush, and even if I want to rush, I'm riding a classic Royal Enfield Classic. So 90-100 is the sweet spot anyway. Look at those hills. I'm not sure if the GoPro is able to capture. Man, the hills are covered with the clouds. That's so beautiful. Wow. I think, if I'm not wrong, that is Kandagiri or Kalavaralli, as we used to call it. That is beautiful. What a view. Right outside of Bangalore. I love this. So many flowering plants on the median. They look pretty, but more than that, they're going to cut down, or rather restrict, the high beam from the oncoming traffic on the other side of the road. That's a big thing. I hope all the highways in India like this, whether it's national highways or state highways, this should be implemented everywhere. The only minor one is a lot of these villages come and try to pluck flowers from that, and if they just unknowingly step out onto the road, that's going to be a dangerous situation.
As I left the city and the subsequent towns behind, the feeling of being on this long journey from Bangalore to Ladakh finally started to sink in. I had planned this for many years, and now in August of 2021, I was on my journey to the mountains. The weather was absolutely perfect for riding motorcycles. It was cool, it was overcast, and the roads were smooth, and there was minimal traffic. The start to the journey was turning out to be just perfect. As I was settling into riding the long distance to Hyderabad, roughly around 40 kilometers after the Kia factory, a dog suddenly jumped out from the bushes on the left, trying to cross the road. I was doing around 90 kilometers per hour at this point of time, and the dog was only about 6 to 8 feet in front of me when it tried to cross the road. At that speed, I could do nothing to avoid it, and all of it happened so suddenly. Unfortunately, the dog hit the crash guard of the bike on the left side. The bike wobbled, and I was scared I might lose control and take a big fall. If I'd fallen at that speed, it would have been a nasty accident, and the trip could have ended on day one, just a couple of 100 kilometers from home. But fortunately, I was able to control the bike, and by the time I stopped, got my bearings, and turned back to see what had happened, the dog was nowhere to be seen. I felt very sad for the dog. Of course, it would have had major injuries, but there was nothing I could do at this point of time.
It's around 9:30. So ideally, let's see. Hopefully, I plan to reach Hyderabad by 4-ish, 4:30, or even quicker if possible. I doubt it, but yeah, that's the plan. Let's see. I need to get some food, breakfast. Looks like a decent place, so let me indicate. And yeah, so now I'm getting into the groove, so it's getting a bit some breakfast. So just finished breakfast. It's around 10:30 now, 10:30, 10:40. So this is Hotel Mayura, which is just around 8 to 10 kilometers before this town called Gutti. Man, the food was bad. The food was I just had idli vada. The sambar I felt was stale. It's almost like yesterday's sambar. And the chutney, they hadn't even roasted the peanuts, so it had this smell of ground raw peanuts. So not a very satisfactory breakfast, but anyway, that's all right. I don't know, the engine light is on, so I need to check that out. So I guess the guy at the hotel, the restaurant, told me that the next Royal Enfield showroom is at Kurnool, which is around 110 odd kilometers from here. knowing the 500 Classic, which has the O2 sensor, I think maybe when the crash bar moved a bit, it might have messed with the O2 sensor, because on this the crash bar sits very close to the O2 sensor. It could have triggered some issue because of which the engine light is on. Other than that, I don't see any issue with the engine because I had got it serviced a couple of months ago. There hasn't been any issue as such. Like the oil was changed, everything was done. So I think it might be the O2 sensor, but let's see. We'll figure it out.
I continued my ride towards Kurnool, all the while with the engine warning light still on. At highway speeds of around 90 to 100 kilometers per hour, I was not facing any issues with the bike. Once at Kurnool, I found the Royal Enfield Service Center, and the mechanics there ran some diagnostics and confirmed what I thought was the issue. The O2 sensor was malfunctioning. They proceeded to install a new O2 sensor, only to find out that what they had was for the BS6 version. Sadly, this would not fit my BS4 Classic 500, which has a different socket altogether. Unfortunately, they did not have the BS4 version and told me to get it replaced at Hyderabad.
Damn. As I thought earlier, it was an issue with the O2 sensor. I think it's such a bad design from Royal Enfield. The wire coming out of the O2 sensor is like a millimeter or two away from the crash guard. So when the dog hit the crash guard on the left side, it pushed the crash guard on the right side towards the front of the bike, and that clipped the O2 sensor. And now, because the sensor is malfunctioning, it's not able to send the correct information to the ECU, and the fueling is suspect. It's malfunctioning. So in the first and second gear, I'm having a lot of almost stalls. It feels like, when you run out of petrol and the last few drops of petrol are there and the bike starts jerking. That's the feeling that I have. So I'm in Kurnool.
As I made my way out of Kurnool and onto the highway, I wished that there were no more surprises lined up for me for the day. I had had enough of bad luck. I almost had an accident, and then a crucial part of the bike started malfunctioning. However, it seemed like the powers above had not yet had their fill, and soon it started raining. And I rode in pretty intense rains all the way to Hyderabad and settled for the day. I woke up the next day and started calling Royal Enfield service centers in Hyderabad to check if anybody had the BS4 O2 sensor. However, none of the service centers I called had the part, and soon I started getting worried that my trip could get cut short. The next best thing I thought was to call service centers in Bangalore, and if anybody had the part, I could get it shipped to Hyderabad. All this would take for me was an extra day in Hyderabad, and I was okay with that. But to my surprise, none of the service centers in Bangalore had the part as well. I then thought I'll call the service centers in Nagpur where I was headed next, so I could reach Nagpur and get it fixed. But unfortunately, none of the service centers in Nagpur that I called had the part as well. Thankfully, my friend Thomas, who runs the Royal Enfield workshop in Bangalore, gave me a contact in Hyderabad, who in turn told me to go to this showroom and that they would have the part.
See this. Now go give the throttle, jerk. Give the throttle, jerk. So this is okay at a slightly, see this, jerk. It's like there's no fuel mixture going in. So on the highway at high speeds it should not be a problem, but when I hit the hills at low speeds and the colder temperature and the higher altitude, there's going to be a nightmare. See this? See this? See? So I'm at 40. See this choke. So let's head to the showroom. Let's see what it does. But the part's not available anywhere. It's not available in Bangalore. It's not available in Hyderabad. It's not available in Nagpur. I'm not sure whether it's available in Delhi. So even if I reach Delhi, which is not a problem on the highway, see again. Anyway, so I have to see what can be done for this, because this part is not available anywhere and Royal Enfield is not stocking this. I mean, COVID is not an excuse. The design itself is f***ed up. Like a slight bump will destroy the O2 sensor, which costs like 2,000 rupees plus. I mean, that's a stupid design. AST Motors, which was suggested to me by Sunil. I went there, checked. They said they had the part. They got the part out, and when I saw the price, I knew it was the BS6 version. And I asked them that. They said no, this is BS4. But anyway, they checked it, and when they tried to install it, of course the socket wasn't compatible, because mine's a BS4 bike and the O2 sensor they had was the BS6. But fortunately, and the manager at JST Motors, Mr. Ajay, was gracious enough to call and check with other Royal Enfield showrooms, and apparently this particular part is available at some Orange International Royal Enfield dealership. I'm on the way now. I even called him and checked the correct part number, which was told to me by some person early morning today. It's 10100 something like that, which is the correct BS4 oxygen sensor. So I'm on the way there, probably another 7 odd kilometers from here. Hopefully I get that done today, all sorted, and off to Nagpur tomorrow early morning. Alright. The oxygen sensor issue is resolved. As I said before, I got this connection at some Orange International Royal Enfield showroom. Luckily they had the part, and that's been fitted. However, so one of the catches is the new BS6 models, because the 350 versions also have the oxygen sensors. It costs around 2,750, but since this is the BS4 and the 500cc model, the price was high. Inclusive of taxes, it came up to 4,300 rupees, almost what, 60-70% pricier than the current BS6 version. But you know, the number of units sold for the 500 has always been lower than the 350, so stocking parts for it will be higher. Anyway, I'm just glad the issue has been resolved. It was done almost within half an hour of me reaching this Orange International showroom. However, the one service guy had taken the diagnostic tool away to another service center of theirs. So what happens is the ECU is programmed, and the last reading or the last input that it would have received was from the faulty oxygen sensor. Now, even though they put the new one in, the reading was still from the old one, so they had to reset it using that tool. And that tool, the guy had taken it to their other service station, and I had to wait for that guy to come back and for them to reset it. Everything done, all sorted, even though it took around, what, in total since the time I've left the hostel, it's taken around 4 hours. But whatever, at least the issue is solved. Now I can go to the hostel, comfortably pack, get going early morning tomorrow, heading to Nagpur. So yeah, connections do matter. So my mechanic, the garage, the workshop that I go to in Bangalore, Thomas, so I'd called him after exhausting all my options, trying to call like anywhere between 8 to 10 service centers in Hyderabad today. I even called a few service centers in Nagpur to check if they had the stock, so that I could ride out tomorrow to Nagpur and get it done over there. But even there, I called anywhere between 4 to 5 showrooms. None of them have it. So the only other option was for me to ride to Nagpur and then ride to Delhi and then try my luck in Delhi to get this part. But considering I called many showrooms in Bangalore, nobody has it. Many showrooms in Hyderabad, nobody has it. Few showrooms in Nagpur, nobody has it. So the luck of me finding this in Delhi was also quite minimal. But on the highway it wouldn't have mattered, but up in the hills it would have been an issue because of the cold weather and the low speeds. So yeah, that's that. So now I need to get fuel, head back to the hostel, freshen up.